The Royal Kluge RK61 is probably one of the most popular budget-priced mechanical keyboards that you can purchase. I've gotten a lot of comments over the past couple years asking me to review that board, and I did just about a month ago. But now we have a different keyboard in that line. Royal Kluge doesn't just stop at 61 keys, no sir. They give us all kinds of options, including this honker right here. Look at this thing. This is the Royal Kluge RK100. If you think 61 is a lot, I mean, it's 100. To change things up a little bit on the channel, a few of you guys were asking me to review more 96% boards, and so when Banggood.com offered me the RK61 for review, I knew I had to jump on it for you guys. So, if you like that, if you appreciate that, you can feel free to like and subscribe right now. The RK100 is an RK61, but bigger. Thank you for watching. Okay, but seriously, it's kind of that, but it's a little more complicated. With a lot more keys, you get a lot more functionality with a similar form factor. If you're not in the know, a 96% keyboard is basically similar to a full 100% keyboard, minus a few keys here and there to make it a little bit more compact and still smaller with a smaller footprint on your desk than a traditional full-sized keyboard. So you get to save some of that precious desk space while still having a full numpad there for you to use, as well as the ever-important arrow keys, which I always appreciate. Again, I did just review the RK61 very recently, so if you want to check that out, I will link it here for a full review. It's going to be something a little more casual, a little more quick, and we're just going to run through some of the differences as to why you might want to pick up an RK100 as opposed to an RK61 or anything else. Unlike the other version of the RK61 I just reviewed, this is actually hot swappable, and that is very, very good because the switches on here kinda suck. Sorry. I mean, it is a somewhat budget price board, although this one is admittedly more expensive than an RK61 at about $70 to $80 or so as of time of recording, as opposed to the RK61 usually being closer to $50. That all depends on which version you buy though, because the RK61 has different price ranges for different features like RGB and hot swap. The board is available in black or white with red linear switches, brown tactile switches, and blue clicky switches. A lot of stuff we've all seen before. The branding on the switches says RK, so I can only assume this is some variation of Royal Kluge's proprietary switch, probably just their branding on another type of switch, but they're not the greatest. Mine came with the linear red switches, and they are kind of noticeably scratchy, almost to the point where they feel somewhat tactile. It feels kind of similar to bad tactile switches that aren't really tactile. It is worth noting that despite their similarities, the RK100 seems very much higher pitched than the RK61. Not the smoothest experience, which is why it's great that this keyboard is hot swap. It makes it a lot easier to take the switches out and lube them, or if you want, just switch them out for something altogether different. The keycaps, I'm pretty sure, are the same ones that were on the RK61. If not, they're very similar. Either way, I would replace them if it were me. They're just kind of your basic shine-through ABS keycaps that you'll see on basically any other budget mechanical keyboard. The compact 96% form factor does make it a little tricky to find a full compatible set, but there are options out there. It's actually not too bad. Your main concerns are going to be the right shift key at 1.75U and the 1U Alt function and control key on the right side of the board as well. As far as I can tell, most of the other keycaps are all pretty much standard, so it's actually not going to be too hard to replace all the keycaps on here. They are shine-through keycaps, and the RGB does shine through nicely, I will give them that. It also has gray sub-legends to show you what some of the secondary functions are of a few of the keys, such as controlling the lighting, media controls, and setting up macros. You've got 4 rubber feet on the bottom, as well as 2 pop-out feet in case you want to raise the board up a little bit. And also included is a little USB dongle with a nice little slot there to keep it safe. I love when companies do this, whether it be with keyboards or mice. genius. And you do have Bluetooth capabilities with up to 3 devices. There is an on and off switch on the back of the board, as well as a switch to change between Bluetooth and wireless. Another thing that's unique about the RK100 that at least my copy of the RK61 does not have is a USB pass-through, actually 2 USB pass-through ports next to the USB-C port where you plug in the keyboard. These aren't going to be USB pass-throughs where you might plug in an external hard drive or maybe even a flash drive, but if you want to plug in your mouse or a mouse dongle, anything like that where you don't really need to transfer data so much as just connect a peripheral, that's more so what you're going to be looking at with the ports here. I'm not a big fan of how the USB port is on the right side of the board. I prefer it to be on the left. With a custom coil cable like mine from Tez Cables, it's a little bit more awkward to have the port all the way on the right. It also has 5 indicator lights in the front of the board to show you whether you have caps lock or num lock on, as well as your battery and wireless connections. The stabilizers are not the greatest. The spacebar definitely sounds the worst out of all of them. It's totally rattly in comparison to all the others. They are factory lubed. You can see here there is some lube there. If anything, if you have the means to add some more lube of your own, you can do so easily since this is a hot swap board and you can just pop right out without taking the whole thing apart. It is also compatible with Windows and Mac, which is great. The typing experience with the number pad just right there next to your shift and enter keys and whatnot on the side does take a little getting used to. I'm more accustomed to it because I have used other 96% boards in the past. It's pretty straightforward though. Once you get used to that after maybe a day or two, you're gonna enjoy it. I would love to see a version of this that has the number pad on the left side of the board. This is not only potentially better for left-handed users, but if you're a right-handed user, it's actually kind of neat to have the number pad on the left side so that you have more space for your mouse and you don't have to lift your hand off of your mouse to use the number pad. So would I purchase the RK100 for myself? Not necessarily. For somebody who wants a full-sized keyboard, but a little bit smaller and is sort of new to mechanical keyboards or just maybe isn't an enthusiast like myself, absolutely. Like the RK61, it is a great, simple board that's super easy to connect and just use. More so with the fact that it has more keys and more functions in those keys than a 60% board. If you're not a fan of 60% boards, but you want something similar to those, you should definitely take a look at the RK100. Especially with this one being hot swappable, you can easily mod it to make it even better, but if you just like it out of the box, then hey, it's gonna work great for you. If you do want to check it out, I will have an affiliate link in the description from banggood.com. If you purchase from there, it helps with the channel funding and growing, and it just goes a long way. But not as long of a way as liking, commenting, subscribing, or just sharing the video with a friend. It would be much appreciated if you consider doing any or all of those. Whichever you do, whichever you don't. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you for making it this far. I'm out of here with a sound test.